You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
What's going on, U.S. Cellular customers? I've got good news, so don't hit skip, at least not yet. I'm talking about their special customer event, Us Days. What is Us Days? It means exclusive offers just for their customers, just to say thanks, like $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. No, I didn't just misread that. They must really like you. Us Days at U.S. Cellular, exclusive offers just for you, just to say thank you. Right now, U.S. Cellular customers get $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. Terms apply.
With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial. And with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at marines.com.
All right, what's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. Text us, 865-658-5824. Joined alongside Tim live in Green Bay. We got Jacob in Wisconsin. Emilio was here, and as soon as it struck 8 o'clock, my time, 7 Central, he just disappears.
He was like looking left and right, wondering what was going on.
True international average of pressure.
he did the squat, the half squat, and look.
Yeah, the poopy.
Right. The poopy. So listen, here's the deal. Internet went out about an hour ago. So we're running this whole thing off of my mobile phone, right? My Android, Team Droid, by the way, Team Samsung. So the thing might blow up here in a minute. I don't know what we're going to have happen here. If we do start having technical difficulties, that's the case. Let us know, guys, in the chat if everything sounds okay. All right, that's the thing we're worried about. So make sure there's no kind of delay, no kind of static, anything like that. But gentlemen, how was your day today?
It was long. Emilio said it was hot.
It was really hot out. Truck kept saying 98, 99, 100, and I'm in,
I'm not a doctor.
Thank you, Matt.
Have y'all had some of that heat up north too, or no?
Yeah, we had it for like a couple days, and it was beautiful today. It was like 70s all day.
Gotcha. Good deal, man. Yeah, hopefully it'll clear up here soon, but they're saying we're going to set a record of 90-degree days this summer is what it's looking like. So we'll see what happens. Regardless, though, we're going to continue talking Packers as we inch our way closer to training camp, man. It's going to be an exciting summer. I was thinking earlier today, too, we're going to do some really cool stuff here coming up. Obviously, we're going to finish the season rewind out, and we'll be doing that on Rumble and X. We'll make sure everybody on all platforms knows all about it, of course. But we're also going to dive into some of the games of the past, too. I've been thinking about that. I'm thinking go back and watch the Super Bowl victory back in 2010. That would be cool. Also, we can go back and watch some of the 90s stuff, maybe the 96 Super Bowl. There was something the other day, too, I was thinking about Brett Favre's game after his pops died, right? Watch some highlights from that, kind of relive it.
Against the Raiders on Monday Night Football.
That one does stick in the memory bank for sure.
So let's dive right into the topics here, man. We got a bunch of stuff we can jump into. Really, really cool stuff that kind of came across the wire. Been focusing on Twitter a little bit, see what everybody's talking about. And this kind of popped up. Look, my man Cheesehead Murph in the house.
What's up?
We have missed you, my friend. Good to see you, bub. So this kind of came across the wire from the 33rd team, which I thought was really cool. It said, we asked Grok, which is obviously Twitter's AI system, what will be the best games this season? Here were the answers. The Cincinnati Bengals at the Kansas City Chiefs in week 2, the Detroit Lions at the San Francisco 49ers in week 17, and then in week 7, one of the top 3 games that it projected was the Houston Texans at the Green Bay Packers. At Lambeau Field, obviously C.J. Stroud versus Jordan Love. This is the one that everyone seems to be talking about, right? Obviously, Packers-Lions is going to be fun this year because it's our responsibility, our job now to try to unseat the big bad Lions from the number 1 spot in the NFC North. But this Houston game, man, C.J. Stroud, Jordan Love, really excited about that matchup. When you look at it from a PFF standpoint, too, this is kind of cool. we sorted by overall grade, all right, overall team grades on PFF. The Packers come in at the 12 spot. The Houston Texans came in at number 9. All right, so the Houston Texans were sitting at 86.2. They're actually tied for 9th. And then the Packers sitting in the 12th spot at an 83.6. And, of course, all the grades are across the board there. If you guys want to take a peek at that, I can keep it up or pull it down. I want to get your all's take on this potential matchup here. Potential great game, I should say. Obviously, they are playing when it comes to the Houston Texans traveling to Lambeau Field. How are we feeling about it, fellas? I'll start with you. Jacob.
Well, I do think it's going to be an interesting matchup for many reasons, because I think that the Texans and the Packers are really similar teams, kind of, I wouldn't say at similar points in their, franchises whatsoever. Obviously, the Packers have been kind of steady Eddie, had a small dip, and I wouldn't say we did a rebuild whatsoever, but when you swap from a franchise Hall of Famer quarterback to anybody, they're going to say that's a bit of a rebuild, and the way that Love responded. And if you're on the other side of the situation, CJ Stroud, I personally didn't think he was going to play that well his rookie year. I didn't think he, for whatever reason, had the talent, and I didn't honestly know a lot about him, but he single-handedly, with him and Will Anderson, those 2 picks kind of completely transformed that franchise. And then they made some other really good draft picks, some really good free agent signups, and they've had really good coaching. And one thing that it kind of sparked a stat I saw today. It was from Warren Sharp, or at Sharp Football on Twitter. It showed the total offensive penalty yards last year. And I didn't realize that the Packers were so well coached in that area. Number 1, or the worst in yardage, was 486 to KC. You got to basically flip to the other end of the spectrum. We were the 5th lowest, or 5th best, if you want to look at it that way, with Green Bay had 282 offensive penalty yards. There was only 4 other teams that had lower numbers than we did. So both teams are well coached. Both teams have a young quarterback. Both teams have stacked wide receiver rooms. Both teams have up-and-coming defenses, and I think it's going to be a fun matchup. I think that I still going to take the Packers, though. What time, week 7? What time of year is that? Is that going to be around
October 20th?
October 20th? Okay.
So I think we got the schedule here. I don't know if it actually shows the dates here. Yeah,
great point by Ron up there on the chat too, about the game possibly being flexed. I mean, look at that schedule. There's not a night game in sight in that part of the season. So, if those teams are hot, that matchup I could see it getting flexed too. I agree with Ron.
I remember we talked about that it's a bunch of early games to, 1, get them into a routine, but 2, they don't have to worry about all the different days and changes and all that. So I could definitely see that, especially being, a big name. The media is really behind CJ Stroud, not super behind Jordan Love, except for that one clip, but it's going to be a good game with big names of up and coming quarterbacks, to set the stage for the NFL moving forward.
Definitely. And again, I think someone asked in the chat about tackle grades. Rock Cod said Texans tackle worse than we do. Not sure I saw that correctly. Let's see here. So when it comes to the tackle grade, well, they're all booty cheeks. And isn't it amazing that the top 12 teams, look at the tackle grade on all those teams, with the exception of the Dallas stuff. It's pretty rough, isn't it? Maybe we're all overreacting, worried about tackling. I don't know, but the Packers tackle grade was 58.9. The Texans were 43.1. Tay Wicks is somewhere just licking his chops right now, going, "Oh yes, sir," little yak in that game. So, and again, these are very different teams, obviously, but last year both of these teams finished really strong. So we'll see how that shakes out. And again, I'm showing bad connection. I'm going to try not to mention it too many times, but if it does cut out, I get blurry, guys. Just know what's going on. We're operating on a mobile phone this evening, which is just absolutely wild to me. So, well, let's see. Yeah, everybody's saying they came back to YouTube. It was Rumble, not rumbling. So that might have something to do with it, guys, with the connection. So hopefully it does get straightened out. But it's showing on my end we're live on Rumble, and there were people commenting on Rumble too. So, right, like Smitty, this is a Rumble comment.
Yeah, so. There's still 30 in there. It's running.
Okay, cool.
That's a good comment too. We had some questions about the flex scheduling, so I pulled it up. It looks like flex scheduling can be used twice between weeks 5 and 10. Can also be used during weeks 11 through 17 at the NFL's discretion. Monday Night Football flex scheduling can be used between weeks 12 and 17. at the week's or at the league's discretion. So realistically, the week 7 matchup against the Texans is eligible for a flex. So keep that on the radar.
If they start off strong, if we go into that game and you're looking at a couple teams that are 5-2, 6-1, something like that, that thing's probably going to get flexed for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's going to be awesome. So, all right, there you go with that. I mentioned Tay Wicks. Let's go ahead and talk about him a little bit. I thought this was kind of cool. 33rd team had tweeted this out. Could Dontavian Wicks emerge as Green Bay's new wide receiver 1? You guys heard that before? I mean, we've talked about that over and over and over going, man, he's showing all the signs that he could potentially be the number 1 receiver, in the next year or two. So the quotes that they threw up here from Sam Monson talking about Dontavian Wicks, he said, he's like a poor man's Justin Jefferson. He could be a true number 1 for the Packers. And obviously they had quote tweeted another 33rd team tweet there where they said, don't sleep on Dontavian Wicks. And it was obviously linked to a video there from PFF. So Tay Wicks is starting to get some national attention, which is really cool. Again, that's the beautiful thing about watching and listening, watching Packers centric shows and listening to Packers centric, podcasts is if people are talking about the right stuff, you can kind of get ahead of the curve before the national media actually catches. Every now and again, you turn on NFL Live, you look up and go, oh, they're talking about the Packers. But in reality, it's stuff that people who, focus on the Packers a little more specifically have been talking about for a long time. So I just thought that was really cool that he was mentioned specifically there. And again, pointing out that Houston game with that bad tackling grade, Tay Wicks is just a monster to bring down. And you guys seen in the offseason, some of the offseason videos of him and Jaden Reed working out together. That dude looks bigger. Is it just me or does his shoulders look even wider, man?
He looks a little jacked up.
Must be from all that off-season working out he was doing.
Yeah. You're allowed to do that, Tim?
Yeah. You are, believe it or not. You can stay in shape during the off season. You don't have to just, smoke the devil's lettuce and go to nightclubs. You can actually work on your craft. It's actually something you can do. So, yeah, shout out to Tay Wicks.
Shout out to Tay Wicks and shout out to Oval Office. All right. So there you go. Another thing that came through the wire, 33rd team's been doing a redraft, and this one really stuck out to me here. All right. 2022 NFL redraft. Picks 17 through 24. All right. Look at number 19, guys. Zach Tom. They're saying if they did a redraft, knowing what we all know now, because listen, this is not a knock on any of the general managers, right? This is just simply, this is factual. The draft is a crapshoot, right? There's so many misses in the draft. It's not even funny. They're saying if they redrafted, Zach Tom would be taken with the 19th pick to the New Orleans Saints. And again, Zach Tom was taken by the Green Bay Packers in the 4th round, the 140th pick. That's just absolutely wild to me. I want to get your all's take on that, Zach Tom, because when you look at it from a draft board perspective here, if you were to say he was the 19th best prospect, he's going to fall in that 67 category there, that 67 grade range, 6.7, all right, which is basically a start. That's a starting grade. And we all seen he stepped right in, and he did start immediately, right? Am I thinking right, guys? He was a starter from day one, correct? So pretty cool, man. He would land in that 6.7 range. So if we were let's say he was in this year's draft, he would be going right there around Tyler Guyton, which is pretty wild to think about, that we got him in the 4th round, pick 140. I want to get your all's take on that. Tim, I'll start with you, man. Great value Goody got here, obviously, for Zach Tom. It's going to cost us in a couple of years, but hey, you're willing to pay big money for great players, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not a secret at this point. I think Zach Tom was a steal. That was a Goody masterpiece in the 2022 draft. And the tape doesn't lie. The way we talk about Zach Tom right now and what he brings to the table is, it can't be understated. Hopefully the pec injury, works itself out and, he's back to full strength before we know it. But he's a gigantic piece on this offensive line, regardless of where you play him. I love him at the right tackle spot, but man, in a pinch at center, right guard, left tackle even. I mean, the guy's just versatile, and I think Goody absolutely smacked this draft out of the park with that pick for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. Such a premium position too, right? What do you think, Jacob?
Yeah, I mean, if it's in addition to that, you look at the grouping that's right here. So you got your Zach Tom right there over Trevor Penning, who Trevor Penning has not worked out very well. Right below him is Christian Watson over Kenny Pickett, who Kenny Pickett has not worked out. And you look down there at Jordan Davis, that's an only one where maybe you kind of scratch your head because that's where the Packers had taken Mr. Quay Walker. But I would still argue that he, has some room to grow. So that was an interesting year. And I think that depending on what happens with Christian this year, all of a sudden the redraft for the next year, and depending on what Tom does again, it could get pretty interesting to see how high these guys could climb up there. I think that Watson, if he stays healthy specifically, could really, really do some damage this year. And like you said, Zach Tom just has kind of been natural since we got him in here. And I think you guys know me, bargain bus, Jacob. That's what they call me. I want to get the
bargain bus,
the highest quality for the lowest amount of money. That's what I go for.
That's right.
I like both of those points. I really do, because you see Zach Tom, Christian Watson, and honestly, Quay Walker being there. If we did take Jordan Davis, we probably don't have Carl Brooks. I'm a big Carl Brooks fan, so I'm still cool with Quay being in that spot. And honestly, we are lucky that half of our team would end up in the top 32 in redrafts if we went through a few of these years, which is cool.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy with Quay because, I see that and I go, I can't argue with their take that Jordan Davis would be a better pick than Quay.
Right.
It seems like people are extremely high on Quay or they don't like him at all. There's really no in between. But when you watch Quay play, you see the physical ability. It's just he's a half a step late, and it's not lacking in that physical ability and that quickness. It's like it's not processing quick enough. Hopefully Jeff Hafley can unlock that, and more specifically, Coach Campanelli can unlock that this year. I know this. Gone are the days of, the coaches are not letting them play fast, because Coach Campanelli, and like I said, Jeff Hafley are not going to be going, hey, guys, let's just kind of play it. No, they're going to be going attack, attack, attack. So this is Quay's year, man. You got to put it together. And I wanted to because, again, everything you see on social media, I love that dude, man. Anytime you send out a tweet saying anybody in Green Bay got a boat, I want to go fishing, that's my kind of cat right there, dude.
That's it.
So.
Yes, sir. I like what you said, though, Clayton. That's so true. Like, I feel like this defensive staff that they've put together is putting an emphasis on let's do the thinking and the scheming and the install. Let's do that at practice. Let's do that at camp. Let's do that during walkthrough. And when we go out there on Sunday and we play football, let's just play. And that's going to be, it's going to benefit players like Quay Walker. It's going to benefit players like Jair Alexander. There's a few more I could list off too, off the top of my head. But I love that style that they're bringing to the table here, where let's lay the groundwork. Let's get the guys to buy in. Everybody's playing for each other out there. And, when it's time to snap the ball on Sunday, let's just go play our game and not overthink, not get tentative. Not play overly cautious, just go out there and play your game. And believe me, that Georgia Bulldog, Quay Walker, that's going to speak volumes to his game. We're going to see a big difference, I think, with Quay in 2024 for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach Lynn in the chat says, Coach Camp will get him right. Campbell said Quay is a dog. I believe him. It seems like everybody who's played with Quay, played alongside him, have said the same thing, Coach Lynn. It's just want to see him put it together, man. Got to put it together. I know someone I'm expecting to fully put it together this year is our boy Rashawn Gary. Wes Hodkiewicz, the great Wes Hodkiewicz, one of my favorite Packers. I don't know if you call him a beat reporter or what. Obviously, he works directly for Packers.com. Just does a phenomenal job. I love that he keeps his personal stuff out of everything. He just simply talks Packers, and I really appreciate that, man. He just sticks to the Packers, and I love that about Wes. He says, quote, when I first got back here, this is Rashawn Gary talking, by the way. When I first got back here, I was talking to the training staff. I'm like, I missed this. I actually missed this. Knee injury behind him. Rashawn Gary ready to get back on the attack in 2024. And the Green Bay Packers actually tweeted out and said, quote, he's the engine. He drives it. It's what he does. I'm pretty sure that was a Matt LaFleur quote. I could be wrong. But it says a healthy offseason for Rashawn Gary means putting in the work. So when you talk Rashawn Gary and a fully healthy Rashawn Gary, and now one who, in my opinion, he looks like he's cut. To me, it looks like he's cut at least 5 or 10 pounds in those videos we've seen. Now, maybe they get him back in Green Bay. They want to put a little bit of weight back on him. I don't know. Because, they've got target weights. That's one of the assignment all the players get. When they do those exit meetings at the end of the year, they go, hey, this is the plan next year. And obviously, if they make a new hire, they may shift it a little bit. But they let those guys know, we want you back in here at this weight. Right, that's the goal, and they'll give a specific weight. Seemed to me like Devontae Wyatt looks like he trimmed down a little bit, but I think it was Colby Wooden. It looked like he might have beefed up a touch. It looks like Rashawn Gary trimmed down a touch too. If you go into more of a one gap approach, now you guys know I've been very vocal that they ran a lot more one gap than they did two gap last year because you're in nickel. And when you're in that nickel, they're not playing very much two gap at all when you're in that nickel 2-4-5 out of what is a base 34 roster build. I think Rashawn Gary going to predominantly a one gap there on the outside, dropping a little bit of weight, getting just a little bit quicker. Now he's fully healthy. He's been in the building working. He's pulling those guys together to work with them. Those guys being the defensive line, the front four, probably the front four for the most part. That's really exciting for me, man. I think Rashawn Gary is poised to have an awesome year. Now, I've seen this come down the wire as well. See if we can get it zoomed in a little bit. This is from PFF. It said 2024 NFL defensive line rankings. New York Jets take the top spot. So if we scroll down and count these off, you got the New York Jets at 1, the San Francisco 49ers at 2. And again, this is the top defensive line groups in the NFL. Number 2 is the San Francisco 49ers. Number 3, the Philadelphia Eagles. Number 4, the Detroit Lions. Number 5, the Cleveland Browns.
Bro, really?
The Browns actually, I don't know if that was meant for the Browns or not, but the Browns actually do have a pretty solid defense. Is it Jim Schwartz that's out there? Am I thinking right, guys? Is he still there? See if it mentions him. I don't know if it does or not.
What's going on, U.S. Cellular customers? I've got good news, so don't hit skip, at least not yet. I'm talking about their special customer event, Us Days. What is Us Days? It means exclusive offers just for their customers, just to say thanks, like $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. No, I didn't just misread that. They must really like you. Us Days at U.S. Cellular, exclusive offers just for you, just to say thank you. Right now, U.S. Cellular customers get $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. Terms apply. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com. You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com.
Didn't say. I think Jim Schwartz is still there, but number 6, the Dallas Cowboys. Number 7, the Indianapolis Colts. Number 8, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, with T.J. Watt, you take him off there, they're probably coming in at 28. Number 9, you got the Las Vegas Raiders. Number 10, the Houston Texans, and right behind them, number 11, the Green Bay Packers. And the article says the best version of Rashawn Gary is one of the most impactful edge rushers in the game, but injury slowed his role a little last season, and a 79.0 PFF grade was a notable step backward even after he came back healthy. Kenny Clark and Preston Smith are very solid players, but the key to the defensive line will be the growth of young players, Devontae Wyatt, Carl Brooks, baby, inside, as well as 2023 first-round pick Lucas Van Ness. How do you guys feel about that? Do you think that's a fair ranking of the Green Bay Packers defensive line there at number 11? I'll hold my opinion till the end. I don't want to sway anybody. Emilio, let's start with you this time, man. You like this or no?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair at the moment. You know, they're not they haven't seen it all come together, right? Rashawn was still down a little bit. We are switching to, we're switching from a 3-4 to a 4-3. We're asking them to do a little bit different stuff. I feel like it's kind of been like that with all of them. Quarterback ranking, team ranking. We've been sitting at anywhere from 7 to 12. And then, I think we're top 4 in the NFC, but I just don't understand, the fact that we sit at 11. But I'm all right with it. I'll take it.
All right, yeah. Tim, what do you think, Bo?
Yeah, I'm with Emilio and Ron here in the chat too. Fair ranking for now.
For now, baby.
Coming in just outside of the top 10 with this D-line group. I mean, we haven't seen a down of football yet, so I'm okay with that. I've said for the last month and a half or so that I believe we'll have a top 10, possibly top 5 defense when it's all said and done, but that's going to take a course of a season. So coming in at 11, we're in good company. I think that's fair for right now, and I just hope the boys have a great camp and we continue to improve. I think, Rashawn cutting a little bit of weight makes sense, honestly. I mean, Rashawn's a strong, powerful dude, but that's not his game. He is speed and technique and football IQ. That's how he's beating guys. So if they wanted him to trim up a little bit, be even leaner and faster, hey, that's great. I can imagine the boys on the D-line that got the call about adding some weight. And, if they're probably kind of excited, they can, eat some more cheese curds,
Cheese curds make my stomach hurt all the time, but I do eat them, though.
Hey, if coach says you got to put some weight on, you got to put some weight on. So, I'm looking forward to seeing this new group, though, for sure, in the 43 this year.
Yeah. Especially with some of these young guys, getting a little more work in the offseason. Devontae Wyatt, Lucas Van Ness, Carl Brooks, like the article says. There's going to be some serious competition in the defensive line room, too. What do you think, Jacob? You feel good about this? You think they're underrated, overrated? What do you think?
I mean, I think that if this is this just the front starting group, or is this considering our dynamic backups like Brenton Cox Jr. and
just the tip, though?
Just other men of that similar ilk. Does it take in consideration the rotation? Or are we just talking about our front, our front runners here?
I think it is, seeing that it mentioned Devontae Wyatt, Carl Brooks, and LVN. I mean, obviously that's Kenny Clark, Preston Smith. It's pretty much everybody. Yeah, they're listing 6 different players here. So it's talking about the defensive line group as a whole.
I mean, I really do think about that because on the really, without any jokes, I'm going to try to say Brenton Cox Jr. and Kingsley, Enigbare, and LVN as those aren't our starters. Those are guys that are rotational players, situational players. That's crazy. And we also, that's not even talking about Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith, who are 2 very, very, very well and established D ends. I think interior defensive lineman is where I think we really kind of shoot up the rankings, because if Carl Brooks takes that step like we think he could, if Devontae Wyatt has any kind of well-rounded game other than the fact that he's just a dynamic pass rusher, but even if we limit his role to being just like a third or, just kind of utilize that talent and really put it to the forefront, I think that could shoot us up. And not even talking about Colby Wooden, and like we talked about, if Slayton is playing like a true nose or anything like that. I mean, have you ever looked into that stat again and seen if that when he wasn't like when he's an actual one tech or something, that he was Hercules? And again,
it got shared in a Twitter group that I've been added to like 600 Twitter groups just randomly, and it got shared in there. And
Clayton, I have so many friends.
No, believe me, I'm in half of them going, boy, I could not have a conversation with any of these guys. We disagree on so much, so I just stay quiet. I'm laying back in the weeds like, that's interesting. Now, of course, they get in there and fight and argue, and every now and again, in one of these chats, which was hilarious, a guy they were going to kick him out, and he left before they could kick him out, so he just pops in pretty much daily and trolls them and leaves before they can kick him. So that's the type of groups they are. But, yeah, I just randomly get added to them, so – not a big deal. It's more of a punishment is the way I see it, Jacob, to be honest with you. So Greg Ross in the chat said, hit the like button to help other Green Bay fans find us. Appreciate that, Greg. Yeah, if you guys would, just take a quick second, hit that like button. Feel free to share it as well. I know we got a ton of people in here on Rumble. We got a bunch on YouTube and on Twitter. We appreciate y'all making us a part of your evening here on this. What is it, Wednesday evening? So, all right. So my take on it is I think it's a pretty fair ranking, really. And the reason being is, you've seen them get in the backfield so much last year. Kenny Clark, Devontae Wyatt, those guys were they were in the backfield constantly. The problem was they couldn't finish the play. They couldn't tackle, right? that was the big thing I noticed with Devontae White and Kenny Clark was they missed a whole lot of tackles, and the stats kind of reflect that. So if they can come in and I think, is it Ogabasi that's going to be the defensive line coach? Am I thinking right, fellas? The interior defensive line coach. So if Ogabasi can come in and kind of clean that up for them and just cut those missed tackles in half from a defensive line standpoint, more specifically defensive tackle, then I think they could jump darn near into the top 5, right? But as it sits right now, I think you got guys that can create a ton of pressure. They're very disruptive. They just don't play under control at the point of attack when they get to the ball carrier. So if they get that straightened out, I think they can be a lot better here. Angus McHaggis says, my take on the defensive line is they did absolutely nothing there in free agency or the draft, so they consider it deep and talented. It's a great point, Angus. We talk Packers every day, but there's no way that we know a quarter of what Goody knows and his entire staff knows about talent evaluation. We don't want to be those guys pretending like we do. And the fact that they said, you know what, we're good. We don't need to add anything. That really speaks very highly about this group. I think that's very, very fair. As Greg Rice says, fair, Miss Pelosi, fair. So there you go. Eric says Clayton is Twitter famous. I'm jealous. No, you ain't, Eric. You lying. Twitter famous. It's hilarious. That's like saying I can't say that. Anyway.
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
It's like that's like winning a spelling bee back home in my hometown in Harlan County, Kentucky. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. So, all right. Let's move on to another topic here. Obviously, you guys got anything else on the defensive line there in those rankings? Anything at all?
No, I'm excited for the hockey line changes. I think we're gonna have a big rotation.
Yeah.
There you go. Hey, and I don't know if you listened at the other day, but when they had the general manager, Michael Lombardi and Femi Abemefe had the general manager from the Colts. Did you ever listen to it, Amelia?
Yeah, I listened to it.
Him talking about that. You can never be too deep at defensive line.
Yeah, he's like, even if you have a guy, you take him.
Yes, and he's talking about on offensive line as well. And as he's talking about just like building in the trenches, I'm thinking this is exactly what we've done here lately, right? The year before, LVN at number 13, right? Edge defender, defensive lineman. Last year or this past draft, Jordan Morgan, somebody who's they tried him at 4 different positions in camp. So they're following that blueprint. It's the blueprint that the Eagles follow too, and you've seen it got them to a Super Bowl a couple of years ago, right? They were that group that they just continue to draft defensive lineman after defensive lineman.
And with his point being, like, the game has sped up so much now that we're not running the ball as much. The clock's not running as fast. We're throwing more out routes. There's more deep shots. So there's a lot more plays that are happening in a game. You're asking a 350-pound defensive lineman to play 60 snaps. It's not going to happen. So, like, you need a rotation. You might as well keep them all as fresh as you can and get 100% effort out of them. 50% of the time rather than the other way around. So I think it's a great point. And I think he stuck to it. The guy said he's going to go down swinging, that the trenches is the way to go. And I think Goody thinks that as well, and just building from it.
Yeah, because the year before was Devontae Wyatt, right? Am I thinking right? So they took Devontae Wyatt. Then they took LVN. Now they took Jordan. Give me one more, Tim. They took Jordan Moore. Thank you, Coach Half.
3 of them.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, man, that's the blueprint they're following, right? And Jordan Love today. Let's talk about this real quick. Then we're going to talk about takeaways, interceptions, turnover differential, that type of thing from the 2023 season. But we were going to play a video, but we were concerned that YouTube may mark it, and we, obviously want to play everything safe here. But Emilio, I know you've seen the video. The rest of you guys may have too. I know I quote tweeted it out, which you'd think I'd be able to share my own tweet, but I'm afraid to do that now, to be honest with you. Everything's AI detected. So it's not like there's a human going, nope, can't do that. It's just wild how everything's operating. But anyway, so it was Mike Tannenbaum, right, who was a former GM, which, by the way, it's absolutely hilarious. I had someone comment, and they may be listening. Listen, I apologize if this is disrespectful, but this is just the way I see stuff. They commented and said, I'd be really excited about him bragging on Jordan Love, because he basically said Jordan Love's that dude. That's that guy I would build a team around. Right, Emilio? That's pretty much what he said.
Yeah, so I watched that.
Yeah, so he's like really high on him. And a guy commented, if it was anybody but Tannenbaum, I'd be excited. I'm going, Mike Tannenbaum was one of 32 human beings on the face of the earth that was qualified to be a general manager in the National Football League. And then on top of that, he had 2 seasons where he won 10 or more games. I think one year they won 12 games. In 7 seasons as a general manager for the Jets, 4 of those 7 seasons they have winning seasons. And people act like because he's not in the league anymore, he's just this big stupid doofus, right? And it's like, that dude has forgot more about the game of football than I'll ever know. And you know, we got people on Twitter that pretend like, oh, you're going to listen to this idiot? It's like, what kind of ego do you have to think that you know more about football than a former general manager? It's just wild to me. And when it's literally has won more games than he's lost. It's just wild. Right. So what was your takeaway from what Mike Tannenbaum said? I mean, did I understand that correctly, dude? He pretty much said, this is the dude I'd build a team around, right?
Right. Yeah. Character-wise, mentality-wise, leadership-wise, talent-wise, skill-wise, everything he has. He's 25 years old. He said, but besides Patrick Mahomes, everything he has, that would be the quarterback I decided to build a team around. He said, yeah, C.J. Stroud is here, but he's only been in the league for a year, right? And Jordan Love still has that age and that experience with that. So
he said over Josh Allen too.
Josh Allen, yep, different running style because Jordan Love's not taking hits. I mean, he'll take a hit to throw the ball, but he's not running, full speed at a corner.
All right. Absolutely.
Yep. There's another Mahomes comp, right? Because they preface that statement by saying, okay, take Pat Mahomes off the board. Who's your guy? First name out of his mouth is Jordan Love. That's over Josh Allen. That's over Joe Burrow. That's over Jalen Hurts. That's over a lot of these quarterbacks. And I think it's a valid point about C.J. Stroud too. I mean, he had a phenomenal season last year, but we've seen one-offs before in the NFL, and I'm not by any stretch of the imagination saying that C.J. Stroud had a fluke rookie year and that he's going to have a sophomore slump. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I think dude's the real deal, but Jordan Love is in a class of his own, in my opinion. And that's not just seeing that with my Homer glasses on. That's just, objectively looking at the guy playing the position and the way he approaches the game. I mean, he's in the upper echelon of quarterbacks in the NFL for sure, and absolutely deserves to be mentioned in the same breath as, Pat Mahomes and, the rest of the top tier talent in the league for sure.
Yeah. So you got to go ahead, Emilio. I'm sorry.
Quote of it was, outside of Patrick Mahomes, if we were running an NFL team today, there's nobody on the planet I'd rather have than Jordan Love. Says the sky's the limit for him.
Now let's say he's wrong and he's just a top 10 quarterback. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Okay. With Matt LaFleur calling the plays in this whole line that we're putting together, yeah, okay. We'll take it.
Cool.
We got Josh too, by the way. We're good.
I think what you're seeing is the ceiling is going to be top 3 and the floor is probably going to be top 15, right? And you're probably going to hover somewhere in between the majority of his career, which would be somewhere between 10 and 5. Sign me the hell up, boys. Like, are you kidding me? We're stepping right into another quarterback who's going to be competing for a Super Bowl year in and year out with his play, right? Obviously, the team's got to be built around him. Can't be having punts blocked and returned for touchdowns in the fourth quarter in the NFC Championship game. Those things are going to matter, right? But I think that Jordan's got everything it takes. Now, obviously, that was a former general manager that said that. So you go, okay, just remove his opinion for just a second. Dan Orlovsky, former NFL quarterback. Now, immediately those same people go, what does he know? He was a backup. Okay, I got you. He made it to the NFL. Did you? Didn't think so. Okay, so he was on Wildy and Tausch, and basically Dan Orlovsky said, if you were looking as far as a quarterback that's developing and they haven't hit their ceiling yet and they're showing that they're getting better pretty much on a weekly basis. He said he's gotten better from college to the pros, and now last year, just from the first half of the season to the second half of the season, to see him advance his game at the level he did, he said, I'd probably put Brock Purdy in that same category, but I'm still picking Jordan Love as that dude. He's that guy that he would pick to run a franchise as well. So you've got former general managers, you've got former NFL quarterbacks talking about him now. You've seen the hot video Jordan put out where it was just all of his teammates plastered all over that video, right? The dude's got leadership. He's humble. He's hungry. Get the contract done. And I'm telling you, man, we got the leader of the pack. There you go. M. Smitty said it. Pay that man his money, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I just love the Jordan Love talk. I'm excited to get that contract in the books here sooner rather than later. And maybe incentive base is the way to go too. Maybe they bridge that gap with some high end incentives that, hey, look, if you competed at MVP level or you make a Pro Bowl or something like that, it'll boost him up to be one of if not the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. Maybe that's the way to get the to bridge that gap. I don't know.
That's what I've always been for. Always.
And I think every fan's like that, Jacob. You know what I mean? Like, if we had it our way, everything would be production based, right?
Yeah.
You get paid what you do. So go ahead, man.
Yeah. Can I pose a question or a scenario to you guys? And I want to see what your thoughts are. So the first thing is kind of going forward, we can all kind of agree, especially over the Rodgers year, that small times that we had even a decent defense that was, best half of the league type defense, even anything that was even close to a top 10, the team played an exponentially better, had a better record over that time. I would argue the same thing with Favre, to the point where people say that with all the success that Favre and Rodgers had, they're almost a failure or a lack of success because they only brought one title back to the Packers, right? And that's so stupid, but it is an argument that people literally say that after 15 years roughly, or however many years it was each, 30 years basically at quarterbacks, that we only got 2 Super Bowls. Well, one, just shut your mouth. 2, I'll respond to this scenario going forward. I think, because I really do feel for the first time in my bones that I do feel like Jeff Hafley is going to turn around this defense, and I think we have enough talent that we finally can put it together. If in this next window the Packers have kind of opened up, which we can see is at least 2 to maybe 4 to 5 years, depending on how we draft, we could extend that window. Do you see if there's a possibility that we have a great defense, or at least a top 15, top 10 defense, and Love is that guy and our offense is that good, that we can win, God willing, a Super Bowl? And if we do win 2 championships, even in the next 10 years, does that catapult Jordan Love in the layman Packers' eyes that he's the best Packers quarterback of all time? Because of the simple fact
probably
he got them 2 championships. And I know this is a completely theoretical conversation. We sound like Bears fans right now, but I really do think if all these things fall into place, that is I just want to understand that possibility and what it would mean for the legacy of everybody impacted by it.
I'm glad that you mentioned the flaw in that whole psychology of looking at it that way. Wins and losses are not a quarterback stat.
Right.
Wins and losses are a team stat. Championships are a team stat. All respect to Peyton Manning, but he got his second ring with a killer defense in Denver.
Yes.
That was a team Super Bowl there. So I think you're right though, that if Jay Money is at the helm and we win more than 1 Lombardi during his tenure, I think there will be a large portion of the fan base that will put him up above Rodgers and Favre, just because, again, of that flawed wisdom of, those guys only got, 1 ring, whatever. I look at quarterbacking a little different. I think, Clayton, you've hit this on the head several times when you talk about the major attributes of, top tier quarterbacks. And Super Bowl rings come into play, but that is not a unilateral thing. Tom Brady didn't win all the Super Bowls by himself in New England.
Have you ever experienced turbulence on a flight and wondered why?
And you can see all the terrain around you. You've got no issue with visibility or anything?
No, everything's PG.
Maybe you've sat on the tarmac for hours wondering why your plane isn't moving.
Well, we're outside here. They're saying the ramp is closed. They won't let us park because of Air Force One.
Listen in on the conversations between pilots and air traffic controllers on the Air Traffic Out of Control podcast.
510 Whiskey declaring an emergency. There's smoke in the cabin. I need to make a landing right now on 31 left.
We have the most interesting, wild, and funny ATC recordings you will ever hear. Check out Air Traffic Out of Control wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
They had a dynasty for a reason. So wins and losses are a team stat. I firmly believe that. But I do agree with your sentiment, Jacob, that I think if he does pull it off more than once, I think the fan base will respond accordingly. And since we're on the subject, we're winning it this year. I'm telling you that right now. Go ahead and put your find the money line right now and put the money up on the Packers right now while the odds are still in our favor, get maximum payout. We're bringing Lombardi home in 2024.
Also, let me go ahead. Go ahead, Jacob.
No, just real quick. If you want to be conspiratorial about it, it is the perfect time for us. If the NFL is rigged, if it's rigged, then that means that they're going to do it right before the Packers host the 2025 draft because it's going to have absolute viewership through the roof.
Took it down.
So let me add to that, Tim. So on top of the fact that we're winning it this year, the reason we got out of our slump was Ron Wolf, right? Back in the 90s. The reason we're out of that is because of Ron and his magic. So he's still here. Mark needs one. Mark needs another Super Bowl. Or I'm sorry, Mark needs a Super Bowl, right? Because he wasn't here. So we need to get Mark one. Then Ed's coming in next year. Ed still needs a Super Bowl. We're going to have to get him at least one. Probably pretty soon off the jump within 2 or 3 years, and then we're off to the races. Yeah, I think Jordan Love is going to be in the conversation with Mr. Starr, definitely.
The window's open, like we've said, right? The window is definitely open right now for this Packers team. And I think Jacob's point is well taken, man. With a top tier defense, this team's going to be deadly. I mean, look at the year they had last year with the issues that we had on the defensive side of the ball at times. And, it goes both ways too. I mean, there were plenty of games last year that our defense kept us alive and the offense just could not put points on the board. And we had some tough losses. So, I mean, it is. You win and die as a team, man, for sure.
Yeah, and, it's funny you mentioned that too because, like, the big thing that hurt the defense last year, Tim, were the takeaways, right? We counted, I think I counted 8 dropped interceptions is what I counted last year. So when you look at total takeaways from last year, league wide, the team that led the most was the Baltimore Ravens with 31, right? So they had 31 total takeaways. Look where the Packers are at. They're sitting at 18. Okay. So they're somewhere like, I don't know, in the bottom third of the league in total takeaways. When you go to interceptions, the Green Bay Packers only had 7 interceptions last year. That's 31st in the league. Okay. Now think about the defense was 12th in scoring defense or 10th in scoring defense. I actually got that wrong the other day. I think the offense was 12th in scoring. The defense was 10th in scoring defense, right? Imagine if they hadn't dropped those 8 interceptions. Then they're going to finish the year at what? 15, which puts them right there with the Dolphins and the Colts, which is in the the top half of the league. They probably win another 2 games if they don't drop those.
That's another 2 games of winning.
Easy. Yeah. Because again, when you look at the turnover differential, what's wild is the Packers actually protected the ball fairly well, considering, like I said, total takeaways, they're in the bottom third of the league. When you look at turnover differential, they broke even on the year. So they had their turnover differential was 0, right? They turned the ball over just as many times as they took the ball away. That makes sense. Whether it was fumbles or interceptions. So those dropped interceptions, that's the thing too. Like, again, I don't mean to keep beating a dead horse, and I know he's gone, but like Joe Barry got all this flack, all this hate, and it's like, boys, he can't catch those damn interceptions. He can't go on the field and catch it for him. There it is.
Afham had said he posted that like 6 seconds before you made that comment.
That's hilarious. I didn't see that. I didn't get pulled up. So that's hilarious, man. But I'm just saying, like, and listen, I think they're going to be much better with Jeff Hafley. You guys know halfway through the season, it's like, all right, these guys are not responding. It's time to make a move. That was me saying that, and I was the biggest supporter of Joe Barry on the face of the earth. I caught absolute hell for it. You guys talking about how my presence on Twitter, you should have seen it last year, and I was getting raked over the coals, and none of you 3 guys were there to help me. You just let me float out to.
I just figured out Twitter, man.
Put him adrift.
Jacob said, I plead ignorance. So I imagine that turnover differential is going to get better this year. Jordan Love's going to get better at protecting the football. Obviously, the second half, you've seen it. If he plays half as good as he did in the second half of the season as opposed to how he played in the first half of the season, that turnover differential is probably going to be at least a +2, maybe even a +5. If they do finish with a +5 on the year, that puts them ahead of the Broncos there. They're in the top 10 in turnover differential. I'm telling you, it is the key statistic. I know that because I've studied Bill Parcells for years. Anything that was put out on the way Bill Parcells coached his teams, I was all over it. Sean Payton, Bill Parcells' disciple, right? Tom Coughlin, Bill Parcells' disciple. You're talking about multiple Super Bowl winning coaches that studied under Bill Parcells. And his big thing was always, and I don't remember the exact percentage, but if you win the turnover differential +1, you got like an 88% chance of winning the game. You win it +2, it goes up to like 92. You win it +3, it's like over 95% chance of winning the game. It is the most important statistic in the game of football. So if they clean that up, bro, I'm telling you, the sky is the limit this year. So I'm excited to see if they can do that for sure. That's pretty much all I got. One last thing. You mentioned Mark Murphy just a second ago. This is his final year. And everybody likes – not everybody. There's people that like to dog Mark Murphy like he's just this horrible player, this horrible, executive. Obviously, he's the acting owner for the Packers is essentially what he is. He's team president, but he's the guy who – when they do the one per club meetings where they have the owners meeting in there, you're only allowed to have one person in there representing that ball club. Mark Murphy's the guy who sits in for the Packers, right? Now, obviously, Ed Policy is going to be taking over, but Mark Murphy, I don't want to name drop it, but there was a podcast I was listening to, a show I was listening to the other day, and it's like they went back and forth with Mark Murphy because they said, what makes you qualified to have your hand in some of these football decisions, which basically, if you guys didn't know, it's amazing how confused people are on the whole silos talk. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say the silos talk? How Mark Murphy changed up the structure of the organization. It used to be the general manager had full say over everything. He hired the coach. He controlled the roster. He was the boss, right? Well, Mark Murphy stepped in. I can't remember what year it was, but he stepped in and said, hey, listen, this was halfway through his tenure. It's like, we got to knock these silos down. Like, we got to get everyone on the same page. And people were making it sound like he made a decision to keep this stuff like divided between other members of the team, right? Basically, what he did was he said the head coach isn't above the general manager. The general manager isn't above the head coach. And the Russ Ball, he's not above any of them. Nobody's above him. We're all going to come together. We're going to meet on a consistent basis. We're going to get on the same damn page and keep each other in the loop. Because what happened with Mike McCarthy was there was times that a player would just show up to practice and he didn't even know they signed him. Because that's the way the old structure – it's not a knock on Ted Thompson. It's not a knock on Ron Wolf. That's the way things operate, right? And Mark Murphy kind of tore that down. Now, they act like Mark Murphy – basically what this guy said was, what makes you qualified to be in on those conversations? He said, I'm a former player. And they scoffed at it like, oh, you played in the 70s and 80s. Go look at what he did. He made a Pro Bowl. He led the league in interceptions one season, and he won a freaking Super Bowl. I about said the F-bomb. He won a Super Bowl.
65%.
65%. That's what we play that a lot because that's people see him like that. This dude was a dog. Like he was successful at everything he touched. He got his law degree, went to law school, right? Excelled in that. Became the athletic director at Northwestern. So he reached the top of the mountain in the NFL as a player, Super Bowl victory, Pro Bowl appearance, led the league in interceptions as a safety, hard-hitting safety too. Then he goes on and leads a successful law career, Northwestern, gets the job at Green Bay. Listen to this record since he took over in 2008. 162 wins, 95 losses, and 2 ties. 8 NFC North titles, an NFC championship, and a Super Bowl championship. And I went through and I'm like, okay, that sounds really good. Is it really that good? Since he took over in 2008, there's only 2 other teams that's had more wins than the Green Bay Packers. And I'm just telling you, it's like, I will not stand for the Mark Murphy slander. I won't. And by the way, he handles the business stuff. That's his top priority. Look over there at Titletown. Look how they're printing money at $12.65 right now. Like, I'm telling you, man, that dude, his ass better be in the Packer Hall of Fame because he's done one hell of a job. And I'm just so sick of reporters who have never played a snap of football in their whole life going, Mark Murphy, a former player, and rolling their eyes over there, 30 pounds overweight, eating pork rinds. Like, what are we even talking about here? So anyway, I don't know if you guys agree or disagree. I really don't care. We can agree to disagree, but I think Mark Murphy has done a hell of a job. I do.
Definitely.
Cosign. I agree. 100%.
Absolutely.
I don't understand Packer fans that aren't Mark Murphy fans. I don't. You ungrateful little weasels. Grow up. That's how
That's the other thing too. They'll make a comment and they'll say his problem is he says the quiet part out loud. What do you mean by that? Well, he says stuff he shouldn't. What do you mean by that? Well, he just needs to learn to keep his. How many times have we said these guys are like, I've heard them referred to as Red China. They won't let any information out of the building. They won't communicate with anybody. So now Mark Murphy does his Murphy Takes 5 and answers questions for fans. And they're like, he doesn't need to do that. He's trying to make it about himself. What?
Yeah. And here's the other thing. Some information doesn't need to be everybody's business. I don't care what organization you're running. You can have a mom and pop, convenience store. It doesn't matter. Business needs to be kept close to the chest at certain times. So, I don't know why people vilify him for that. And then, like you say, Clayton, then he does take the time to speak with the media and answer questions, and they don't like the answers he gives. So, I mean, hey, at the end of the day, if you got it out for someone, you got it out for someone. Clearly, there's an agenda with some of these, media members, and honestly, some of these people in the fan base themselves. Fan how you want to fan, but anything that's negative directed at our front office, it's going to fall on deaf ears when it comes to me, because I look at the track record, I see the direction that this franchise is heading, and we're in good hands here going into the future with Ed Policy at the helm. And I don't want to have rose-colored glasses and say there's nothing bad to say about, our organization. There's always things you may have wanted to see done differently, but overall, I mean, I give my Packers front office an A-, man. We're heading in the right direction for a team that honestly might not have been here just a few decades ago, without the improvements that we've made. So thank you, Mark Murphy.
Mm-hmm. Eric in the chat says, hey, Clayton, that comment hurt. I love pork rinds.
Hey, to be fair, pork rinds are surprisingly low in calories. So
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Extremely high in fat, though, right, Jacob?
I mean, don't read that part.
There you go. It's the best advice I never got. M. Smitty in the chat said Mark Murphy, despite his quirkiness with media stuff, is an absolute dog. And that's the thing, too. Like, he is. There's no denying it. He is quirky. I'm telling you, when I seen that 65% come across the wire, I was like, we're clipping that. I got to have that. That is hilarious. But I would rather someone be quirky and know they're being themselves.
I was going to say it's quirky but genuine.
Yep.
Yeah. We've all got our flaws. I mean, listen to my accent. Are you kidding me? Like, we've all got our flaws. But Tim doesn't. That dude's in peak shape over there.
See? Rainbow land right on him.
I get within 100 yards of a McDonald's drive-thru and I gain 3 pounds. Tim could eat a whole chicken and not put on a pound of fat, man. It's just drives me crazy.
But like I've told you before, man, it gets windy up here in the Fox Valley, man. I got to look for stuff to hold on to.
When Clayton goes through McDonald's, they give him his food at the first window when he pays. They already know his order.
The window that's usually boarded up, they're like, here, we got you, bud. We got you.
Clayton rolls up through the drive-thru and they're like,
Here we go.
Hey, that guy with a big head, he's back. Get the double quarter pounder out here.
The trailer's hitting all the curbs, takes out the speaker with it.
You ought to see the scars on the side of that tire. Ron Sample says policy is only 65% as tall as Mark.
Ron, come on.
65%. 65%. That's what we.
There you go. I'm gonna miss that cat. I ain't lying.
Oh.
All right, we're out of here, guys. Anything else you want? Anything else you got? Any takes? We got a herd of people, man. Appreciate y'all swinging through this evening. It doesn't sound like there was any glitches in the system, right? It seemed like everything flowed pretty smooth. So,
yeah.
Nice.
Oh, can I make one more? Last night I can't remember. Did we talk about Elton Jenkins and the kind of cool acknowledgement he got?
We did not. He go ahead and tell him about it, though, Jake.
Okay, cool. It'll just take 2 seconds here. Packers News. This is off again an MSN article. I'm sorry, it's from Fansided by Devin Platana. It says Packers star receives incredible honor from his hometown. And just to summarize it real quick, it says NFL agent Carmen Jude revealed on Saturday that Packers offensive guard Elton Jenkins will have his former high school stadium named after him. The 2-time Pro Bowl blocker returned to his hometown of Clarksdale, Mississippi, for his annual youth football camp, when he learned that he was receiving the honor, which that's pretty cool. That's like, I think that's probably a bigger honor than some stuff that you think would make you excited. If somebody renamed my high school stadium, which now, by the way, if you ever drive through Hudson, Wisconsin, we might have one of the best facilities in the state. You click Clayton, you would be in awe. It's kind of crazy. So if somebody renamed that in my name, even if I was just the Hawk Tui girl, and they're like, we're gonna rename this Hawk Tui Stadium in your honor, I'd be like, oh yeah, exactly.
If they renamed it, they'd call it the Discount Bin Stadium, right?
Oh yeah,
fair,
no doubt
fair.
about it.
And tickets would be $1.
The first thing Jacob, look at where he froze to. The first thing Jacob would do if they named the stadium is like, the only way you're putting my name on the stadium is you tear the bleachers down. Everybody has to bring their own seats. Okay, that's how we're got to save money, guys. Let's cut some costs here. So.
We ain't giving them water. Better bring your own water.
I like this. AFAM says Clayton ordering Diet Cokes with no ice. AFAM's got the best dad jokes, bro. I'm telling you. M. Smitty says the onions on the double quarter pounder are the chef's kiss. They really are. Are you guys big quarter McDouble? See, there you are. You're like Jacob. You're over trying
McDouble with
to
mac sauce. You save the money. You get the flavor. You're out of there. See ya. You get the 2 for $3.
You're out of there.
Dude, I don't.
Algorithm's going to be dumping out McDonald's ads heavy.
No. Milwaukee pipeline event starts tomorrow. No way we're going to change it out for McDonald's ads. We want
Emilio, you keep giving it out for free. They're never going to pay for it, man.
Yeah, man. Why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free, Emilio?
Oh, Lord.
They're releasing all the new tools tomorrow. Come on, Jacob.
Well, yeah.
They're out of control, man. Anything else? Is the McRib coming back too? Is that on the horizon? Do we know?
You
that McRib, hey, listen, that McRib is nasty, boys. Can we be real about that? Emilio, do you like the McRib?
Dude, no, I'm pretty sure that's all I ate though when I was like in elementary school growing up. You know, when they had rib sandwiches.
Dude, I'm telling you, I was just gonna say, Emilio, that was they tried to kill me in high school. All I ate was a basket of fries, a blueberry slushie, and a McRib that was it was just meat formed into the rib. It was like they put it into a press patty, and it came out in like a creepy crawlers. Remember those? Like you just baked a rib
in between,
and then put it on a bun,
stale white bread,
and they just wrapped it in tinfoil. And they're like, "Eat it, kid." And you're like, "All right."
Yes. I know how you kids like them sloppy.
This lady is scaring us.
Eric in the chat said, "Emilio, Italian Mexican drooling over McDonald's. What a bum."
Man's got to eat. Cookout, Culver's, McDonald's. I just told Eric I had 3 tacos today for lunch.
Angus nailed it here, man. McRib is mystery meat. I'm telling you, bro. You bite in that and you're like, that's not real meat.
You can't put a consistency to it.
No.
I think it's like
you're out of control.
Sawdust with Jello.
All right.
Sawdust
Anything else,
and
fellas?
Jello. I love it.
Anything else, fellas?
No.
Lysol? Go buy your Lysol. There you go, Emilio. Appreciate you, man. Nice little drop there. This show sucks so bad.
Chat's going wild. We can't even.
I know.
Well, we'll be back tomorrow to talk more Packers. Less McDonald's, more Packers.
There you go.
So bad it's good.
All right, guys. We're out of here. Appreciate y'all for hanging out with us. It's always a blast. I'm glad the phone didn't blow up as we, like I said, this whole show was streamed off of 5G on a Verizon phone that's about 3 years old because I'm a cheapo too.
And that thing is probably 200 degrees right now.
It's hot.
Start a fire.
Speaking
of fire,
real quick on the pod.
Did you guys see that
Thank you for making us part of your day.
Sorry, Randall Cobb's house started on fire from an electric Tesla charger, which tells you one thing, folks.
Shocking.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Buy yourself a diesel truck.
Diesel. And go Pack Go. For those of you listening on the pod.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Listen, are we seriously going to act like we've never seen another car catch on fire, guys? Like, is that really happening right now? I'm being honest. Look at Jacob. Let's put Jacob full screen. Jacob, we got to know, man. Tell us.
I've never seen a car start on fire.
There you go. Put it on the ticker. All right, we're out. We already hit the sound drop, so thank you for that. You know what, Tim? Hell with it. Do it one more time, man. Hit it one more time for us. I know you.
For those of you listening on the pod,
thank you for making us a part of your day. I don't know why you did, but we really appreciate it. All right? As always, let's go out and be the change that we want to see in the world, and go Pack Go.